Welcome to Wickedly Judged, the podcast where we fight for justice reform by exposing wrongful convictions and the real-life stories behind them. I'm Rebecca, and today's episode is one that hits at the heart of our mission. We'll be taking an unflinching look at the case of Joshua Lee Mosher, a man whose life was irrevocably changed by a series of accusations, convictions, and ultimately a relentless fight for justice. This episode is especially powerful because you'll hear directly from those closest to Josh, his sister Amanda, and his girlfriend Bethany. Their voices and their advocacy are a testament to the human cost of wrongful convictions and the hope that comes from never giving up. Let's set the stage by walking through the timeline of Josh's case. Understanding the order of events is critical to grasping both the complexity and the tragedy of what unfolded. Starting in the summer of 2011 through June 16, 2012, Josh is living with his girlfriend, Jackie. By all accounts, this is a tense and difficult environment. June 16, 2012, a fight between Josh and Jackie leads to a domestic violence charge. Josh pleads guilty and is sentenced to time in jail. He begins serving his time in the county jail. It's while Josh is serving this sentence that everything changes. June 30th, 2013. Jackie accuses Josh of sexually assaulting her daughter, Valerie. Importantly, Josh is still in jail at the time of this accusation. July 15th, 2013. Detective Taminga interviews Josh. Josh describes the toxic environment in Jackie's home and talks about Valerie's odd behavior, but he firmly denies any wrongdoing. Despite his denials, though, these statements will later be used against him. August 12, 2013. Josh is formally charged with 3 counts of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree involving a person under 13. August 14, 2013. Jackie and Leah become Facebook friends, a detail that in hindsight raises questions about relationships and motive. September 2013. Leah brings her daughter Taylor to the Children Advocacy Center. The legal proceedings move fast. December 16th, 2013. There's a motion to quash and an objection to introducing prior bad acts as evidence. February 17th, 2014. After a 2-day jury trial, Josh is convicted on all 3 counts. He's sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. The appeals process begins, but every attempt is denied. May 21st, 2015, direct appeal denied. May 2nd, 2016, Michigan Supreme Court remedy denied. July 26, 2016, reconsideration denied. February 17, 2017, federal writ for habeas corpus dismissed. April 13, 2018, leave to appeal denied. March 5, 2019, further appeal denied. May 3, 2021, direct federal appeal denied. June 21st, 2022, 6th Circuit Federal Court of Appeals denied. But Josh's story doesn't end there. In 2023, Bethany, an old friend, reconnects with him and begins her own investigation, something the police failed to do. She uncovers evidence suggesting a social media revenge plot, evidence that casts serious doubt on the original conviction. Bethany's advocacy leads her to meet with her state representative in 2024. And in September 2025, paperwork is filed with the Michigan Integrity Unit on Josh's behalf. The fight for justice is still ongoing. To truly understand Josh's story, though, you need to hear it from those who know him best and have stood by him through every setback. I sat down with Amanda, Josh's sister, and Bethany, his girlfriend and tireless advocate. Their courage, heartbreak, and determination are the core of this fight for justice. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Wickedly Judged. I'm Rebecca, as we all know, and today I have on the phone with me Amanda and Bethany, and they are going to tell us what's going on with Josh's case up in Michigan. Remember the case I had a couple of months ago with Doug? Josh's case is the same way. Michigan, y'all got to do better. Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good. Yeah. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for asking. And thank you guys so much for trusting me with your brother's case and your best friend's case. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's nice to finally be able to have somebody listen. It's such a positive thing when, so many people want to close their ears to the injustices of the world.
Oh, absolutely, because it doesn't involve them, so it doesn't affect them.
Right,
but
exactly.
What they don't understand is what's going on in Michigan right now, this being the second case, and I've already talked to somebody about a third case. This can affect more people than they even realize. Before they even know what hit them, they'll be looking at 25 to life.
Right. Well, and because most of these cases, they're just generally convicted on a story. There's no evidence. There's no DNA. There's, no type of physical evidence, no touch evidence, nothing. I mean, and, a lot of them, just the story, her word against his or vice versa.
Guilty by hearsay.
Yeah.
That sounds very familiar. Absolutely.
Very familiar. With Doug's story and Mary's story.
So start from the beginning. Tell me how this all came about, how long he's been in prison so far, and where his case stands as of right now.
Well, I unfortunately did not come in to re-enter his life again until February of 2023 when I found out that he was in prison, and it just shocked me. And then I reached out to his sister, Amanda, and we just started chatting. I reached out to Josh in prison. He told me his side, and just something would not let it sit with me. So I just kind of started Googling it and looking into things on my own. And I just realized how nothing really added up. It just sounded, there was no hard evidence. There was no evidence whatsoever.
There's so many holes in the story.
Right.
When I was at his trial.
Mm-hmm. And then I started looking because, because there's two women. Basically, Josh has been convicted of 3 counts of criminal sexual assault with a person under the age of 13. My theory is that it was a revenge conviction because he was dating a girl, and he had lived with her, and she had 2 children. They were a very toxic couple. I mean, they shouldn't have been together. It was a party house, it was just not good for kids, not good for adults. Josh and the mother, who is Jackie, would, get into physical fights and everything. Well, he had a domestic violence charge against him where she pressed charges against him, and he went, he's even told me that, Bethany, I did, and I pled guilty because I did do that, and I was a child. It should have never happened, and he was in serving jail. And this was around June 16th of 2012 was when the fight happened between them, and he was in jail. And I have Facebook posts where Jackie has said that, he's in jail right now, but I'm going to send him away to prison for a very, very long time. He messed with the wrong girl. So right there shows intent that she was very bitter.
Was that ever presented as evidence during his trial?
No, because this is all things that I've found since being reconnected to him. So at his trial appeals, none of this is known, so he didn't have any of what I had found. I mean, I have tons of screenshots where basically she brought in another ex-girlfriend of Josh's and convinced her to convince her daughter to be a false witness. And I have, screenshots of these moms basically planning this whole thing, like an army mission or something. Like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I mean, and, even though this prior false witness had said that, Josh had sexually assaulted her in a bathroom at a park, and she could not describe this park bathroom correctly, anything. I mean, and there was no charges ever brought against him before. So, and she testified, and I think they did that in order, just to clinch the charges against him. I went way off as far as let's see.
No, that's fine, because one of the questions I was going to ask was, what was the motive behind it?
Revenge. So the main mom in this case, her name is Jackie. The one that's for the secondary, the false witness, that mom's name is Leah. I also have Facebook posts of Leah that coincides basically with Josh's. When Josh was formally charged on August 12, 2013, Leah had made a post on Facebook that says, "Revenge. I'm finally seeking my revenge." I mean, there's just way too many coincidences. I mean, as far as dates that show, and these two girls, they were very open about, going to court for their daughter's supposed sexual assault. What mom does this? Really? I mean, and then go online on Facebook and make fun of it. I mean, and then, Josh filed, when he was charged, he filed for a motion to quash and an objection for the introduction of prior bad acts. And I have copies of all that where, the mothers had stated they'd never known each other. They did not know each other until these charges were brought forth. Well, it just goes and shows one of the moms did a Facebook friend anniversary, and they knew each other before the second mom even took her daughter into the child advocacy center. So they were lying in court because they said, no, we never knew each other, but yet you guys were Facebook friends longer than you were, these charges with Josh. So, I mean, a lot of that is, and I've looked up different things, as far as screenshots and everything, how they're used in court, and they can be used in court. I mean,
absolutely.
It's just really hard because Josh has already filed all of his appeals, his direct appeals. It's even went to the Michigan Supreme Court. But all of that happening, let's see. On June 21st, 2022 was when his Circuit Federal Court of Appeals was denied. So that was the last of his appeal. And that was prior to me finding any information as far as Facebook goes. I've also reached out to Leah's ex-husband, and I have screenshots of conversations I've had with him where he's like, most definitely I could see Leah doing this. I have screenshots of Jackie's ex-husband talking about how he had to get away from her because she was manipulating her kids against him. So, I mean, to kind of set up the type of women these are. I mean, other men in their lives would say, oh, yeah, they would do this kind of stuff. And, so I don't know how that would stand up in court, but, I mean, if you got the guys on there to testify, that would look good in Josh's behalf.
It definitely goes to their credibility as witnesses, for sure. And then the Facebook post and all of that, depending on the judge, can be considered newfound evidence, which filing a habeas motion would be the next place to go.
Yeah, he did do a habeas. Let's see, and that one was dismissed on February 17th of 2017. I know he said the only type of appeal he has now is the subsequent 6500. And now it's just even getting a lawyer to even listen and, look at this case. And that's been a real struggle too.
Yeah, because the cost behind it, most attorneys want, a big chunk of change just to be retained for a wrongful conviction.
Right. And I know it's hard once they're in prison to even get them get them out. And the longer they're in, the harder yet it is to get them out.
That's I can speak from experience on that one. Absolutely. To get the courts to listen, because nobody wants to admit that they made a mistake. Nobody wants to admit that they allowed two people to manipulate the court system like they did and use them for revenge.
Right.
So that's where you go outside of the state and you file federal habeas.
Oh, I wonder. Okay. So let's see. I have federal right of habeas corpus.
Yep.
That one was dismissed. I wonder, because that was dismissed, if there was a way we could do another one of that one. I don't know. I will ask him about that one. Put a question mark by that time.
Because if you've exhausted all of the state remedies possible to get his case back into court, if they keep deny, then you step out of state and now you go federal and you file a federal habeas.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they're going to do is they'll say, okay, you guys need to relook at this because you're wrong. And then, that opens up a whole nother can of worms. But it is a way to get it back into court to where you would, at the very least, get a new trial.
Right. I mean, that would even be amazing if we could even, bring to light some of, this online social media conspiracy, to convict him. I mean, and after so many years, do these girls even remember their stories, and I mean, the two daughters, they're grown up now. I mean, maybe that would give them a chance to even clear their conscience. I mean,
yep.
That's got to be, something. But, and another thing, unfortunately, what Josh had going against him was when he was first questioned about this, the detective on the case is known for, convicting predators. I mean, he just likes to put another notch in his belt. His interrogation tactics have been called into question on a lot of other Michigan cases. And, he's now the county sheriff. So, I mean, going against him and how he is going against a huge political power. But there are other Michigan cases where they've said, this detective is, I mean, because I wasn't there at the trial, but both Josh and Amanda told me that when the recording was played of Josh's interrogation, there was an issue with the recording. And when the recording cut out, that just happened to be when Josh admitted he did it.
Right.
And then like Amanda says, they started playing the recording again, and Josh is still in there just denying everything. So why in this whatever 2-minute span did he all of a sudden admit to it, and then he's back denying it again? That does not make sense. But this detective, I mean, he knew how to get his guy, whether or not he was guilty or not. He knew how to get his guy, and unfortunately, and then that did not work to Josh's advantage. And Josh knew he was innocent, and he just never could have imagined that he would been convicted of this, because in his heart he knew he didn't do this.
So a detective used dirty tactics.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
And then gets a promotion for it?
Oh yeah.
Say it ain't so. This happens? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, I know. If you look this up, you can see there's other cases where other guys have brought appeals, against this detective and brought up, his interrogation tactic. And I guess he's a very intimidating guy. I just would love to go down and introduce myself to him, just to meet him, just to see. But, I don't see where they'd do any good, but...
No, and he'd probably lie and say you did something so that you landed behind bars too, and then he'd get another pat on the back for what a great cop he is.
Right, that is true. That is true. I mean, I would just like to ask him, do you ever have the fear of convicting an innocent person? I mean, I would love to just know, my youngest daughter is studying to become she's in criminal justice. And, she looks up to Batman because he's for truth. And when I started bringing, her, some of Josh's case and she was looking at it, I think she, started realizing, how dirty, a lot of the play is in our judicial system. And,
It's terrible.
What that had to do with it, but she's kind of now a little bit like disillusioned with it because there isn't a lot of righteousness in our laws anymore.
No, there's not. There's not. The prosecutors think that, and the judges and the detectives all believe that they are above the law.
Exactly.
So they do whatever they want. They bury whatever evidence they want to bury or create evidence where it doesn't exist.
Right.
Just to convict people.
I have to tell you about the lotion bottle. So, when Josh was first originally charged, they went over to Jackie's house and they searched her house. Well, Josh has been in jail for over, a year now. So he had not been at Jackie's house. And there was a lotion bottle that they grabbed out of Jackie's bathroom with some type of hemp lotion or whatever, and they used that as evidence. You can't tell me this bottle of lotion sat in the same spot and it was from Josh or whatever for a full year in this woman's bathroom. And that's what they used as evidence. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
And they probably didn't do any fingerprint testing on it whatsoever. Or anything to prove that it belonged to him. They just took her word for it.
No DNA, no evidence, no.
And
it's basically hearsay.
Right. And both of these girls all of a sudden remembered at the same time that, that they were sexually assaulted by a person, so, I mean, which it brings to point another issue that Michigan has with the fact of, people withholding, sexual assault stories and everything. It's called Barbara Welke. She is the lady that is the expert as far as she'll go in and she'll say it's called child accommodation syndrome, where children will hold back any traumatic thing until years later, which may happen, in certain cases, but not every case is that. And they use the same expert witness in every single criminal sexual conduct case in Michigan. And they use her child accommodation syndrome as though that is a scientific proof, which there is no proof of that. That this, so they're really starting right now, we have a judge on our Supreme Court who's really starting to look into the truth behind this because, people can say, hey, I was, sexually assaulted 10 years ago and I don't have any evidence anymore, but that's enough to put away a guy for 25 years to life.
Yep.
And
the general public doesn't see anything wrong with it because it doesn't affect them until it's one of their family members that's accused. Because, hey, we're putting these sexual deviant people behind bars for life and we don't have to worry about our children anymore.
Right. But not all of them are guilty.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, it's destroying people's lives. I mean, and the more you dig into it, the more and more you see how many lives are destroyed by these lies of, vindictive people that just want revenge. I mean, there's a couple cases that I followed in West Michigan, and one of them, the guy, he had a vindictive ex-girlfriend. Thankfully, she didn't bring any children into the case, but she falsely accused him. He happens to be the picture taker up at the Kinross Correctional Facility. But, he was convicted on a story. And, and the news blew it way out of proportion. But when you actually look into the nitty-gritty of it, there's no evidence behind why this guy is convicted of this. I mean, he might have done it, but I don't, but there isn't anything that really says he did, if that makes sense.
And the sad part about that is that is so dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
That is so dangerous, because that means if I'm just driving through Michigan and I stop at a gas station and I bump into somebody, they can call the police and say that they were sexually assaulted, and I'm looking at life in prison, and I didn't do anything but bump into them accidentally.
Right.
That's the nitty-gritty of how dangerous this is.
Right. It does seem to be aimed more at men than women, but it is. Yeah, you could be, and it's just your story against their story.
Yep.
And whatever one the prosecution, and what wants to feel is right, and then they'll weave together false narratives just to win their case.
Yep, that's exactly right.
It takes away from the true victims, and I mean, I've known other people who have unfortunately been, sexually assaulted. They have been real victims. And when they described to me, the horror that they went through, they can describe literally the detail of of the wallpaper. There's details that stick out. And like in the secondary's testimony, she couldn't even describe the bathroom right. I mean, it was so wrong. There was no details in what she said in that testimony that actually matched that bathroom. And Josh even had at the trial the park supervisor on testimony that said, no, you cannot lock this bathroom from the inside. It has 2 stalls, not just a toilet and a sink. I mean, and
also the girl's story changed.
Yes.
Did we even mention that?
No. Nope. And when Jackie called, when she first kind of called the cops and said my daughter had been sexually assaulted, Jackie told the first original detective that no, Josh didn't ever touch her. And the daughter even said that, no, he did not touch me. And then it just kind of morphed into, they bring them into these the Children Advocacy Center, they pressure them, and they build these stories off from this. And I've seen it done, and it's been done like in other cases, like you had mentioned, Mary and Doug. And then these girls, are manipulated into lying about an assault. And then another thing too that you mentioned while you were mentioning, Amanda, about the trial, you were in the bathroom.
Yes.
And you heard the girls making jokes about Josh.
Yes.
Here, that just does not seem like normal behavior to me. That the moms are in the bathroom joking about a guy they're sending away to life because their daughters were sexually assaulted. That's not how I'd act if my daughter was sexually assaulted.
Me neither. I'd be sitting in a jail cell if my daughter was sexually assaulted. I'm telling you that right now.
Exactly, me too. And I would not be making jokes about it either, or posting it on Facebook or in bathrooms. It's like, yeah.
It was a big joke to them. It wasn't a serious allegation, and all of that, all the social media posts prove it. Like this, This was just a big joke to them. Ha ha, let's see how far we can go with this. And guess what? The prosecutor bought it hook, line, and sinker, and an innocent man is sitting behind bars. And I don't know how Michigan is on this, but I know in like Ohio, where I'm at, if you have more than one charge of some kind of sexual crime, before you ever come up for parole, they have a hearing to see whether you're a sexually violent predator. And if they deem you as a sexually violent predator, when you go to the parole board, you're automatically going to be denied.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't let you out on the streets. You're a sexually violent predator.
Right. And also in Michigan, in order to be paroled, you have to show where you have been healed. You've been, what's that word?
Rehabilitated.
Rehabilitated, thank you. That, so basically, in order for Josh to ever even get paroled, he would have to admit that he did it, and then he'd have lifetime monitoring, and because of the 3 convictions, he would be very limited activity he'd be able to do, especially at first. So, I mean, basically, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I mean, he wants to be paroled, but I told him right now, I'm like, don't you ever admit to this because it's not worth it.
Nope.
Because then you got to go through counseling that, and it's never ending. I'm like, we'll just continue to fight this, for as long as it takes. We'll just continue to fight it. And eventually, hopefully, the truth will come out.
And that's really all that can be done, because why admit to something you didn't do?
Right. Exactly.
And I understand it's not easy in prison
right.
for people who've been accused of this type of crime.
Oh, it's not.
It's not easy at all, but the alternative to lie and say you did it, and then now you're constantly having to register as a sex offender, and you're having to, watch where you live and watch where you go and watch what you do. And
Yep, and then you have never any counseling. I mean, where you have to go to support groups, to make sure that you're okay. I mean, oh yeah. I've read some stories that is just horrific. I mean, if they're guilty of it, by golly, do it. That's great, but not all of them are guilty. And Michigan always says we have this restorative justice, but there isn't no restoration, at all.
Nope, and there's no justice either, because you've got innocent people behind bars for crimes that were never even committed in the first place.
Yep. And there are quite a few in Michigan. I follow, I've actually been following quite a few cases of it, just within the last few years. There's probably 5 active cases that I check on regularly, just to see how they're doing, and where they're at, where, it's a story against a story.
Yep. And it's not going to change until the community comes together and first realizes that this is a serious problem. This can happen to your dad, your brother, your son, your uncle. It don't matter. They don't care. This can happen to anybody. And your family's torn apart for what? Because the prosecutor wants another notch in their belt so that they can get the next promotion? Are you kidding me? And to use the same expert witness over and over and over again, who made them an expert?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm so glad they're finally starting to, look at her theories and saying, this is not correct. And if you see the pattern and all the cases that this lady was involved in, and also the Child Advocacy Center, it's the same pattern. The child always starts off saying, no, nothing happened. But then all of a sudden it blows up into this huge story, and the story is always the same. And, that's just like with the detective on Josh's case. You can't tell me every person that he's ever investigated for sexual assault has been guilty. No. I mean, that's just, that'd be great. If he was that good, but he's not.
No.
There's got to be, there are innocent people out there.
How many kickbacks is he getting in the form of either promotions or raises? The Child Advocacy Center, where are they getting donations from?
Right. And they're all the same, and they all work together in this little club or whatever.
Yep. Because they're all making a name for themselves. They're all getting more money. This expert witness, oh, come on. What did she go to school for it? And who deemed her an expert? Because just because you testify multiple times in court does not make you an expert.
Right.
If that's the case, then I'm an expert podcaster, and I'm an expert at wrongful convictions, because I've handled a few cases now.
Oh, we could call you in as an expert.
That's my new title. I'm an expert.
Expert witness.
Yeah, like it's getting so out of hand that people aren't upholding the laws. They're taking the law, bending it to where it fits their narrative. And then they're ruining innocent people's lives, and they go on about their day like nothing ever happened. So how much of a kickback are these guys getting? Not only, you got to understand, the prison system in America is one of the most successful businesses in America. So you've got, the state getting money for every prisoner that there is. So naturally, nobody wants to parole anybody because we get more money the longer they're behind bars. Some of that money goes down and the judges receive it. The prosecutor receives it. The detectives get bonuses. They get raises. They get promotions. And for what? And then you've got this lady who's an expert witness with some crappy, non-scientific BS. And because I'm going to tell you, I am a survivor of childhood trauma. And I can tell you, I'm 50 years old right now. What happened to me when I was 5. And I can tell you details now, 45 years later, of exactly where it was, how it was, when it happened, what happened. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me because it's in my head and it plays on repeat 24/7. It's not something that you get details wrong. It's not something that you forget about. Yes, you can push it to the back of your mind so it's not in the forefront all the time. But there's specifics that you don't mess up and you don't forget. We will pick up next week with the second half of this interview with Bethany and Amanda. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh's case is not just a story. It's a call to action for all of us. Wrongful convictions don't just destroy one life. They ripple out to families, to friends, and entire communities alike. The fight for justice is long, exhausting, and often lonely. But as you've heard today, it's also filled with hope and resilience and the power of advocacy. Here's how you can help. Share this episode with your friends, your family, and on your social media. Awareness is the first step towards change. Visit wickedlyjudged.com to learn more about Josh's case and other wrongful convictions. Support the work that we do by donating or purchasing merchandise. Every dollar helps us investigate, advocate, and bring more cases like Josh's to light. Contact your local representatives. Ask them to support wrongful conviction review units that are outside of prosecutorial reach. They need to be individual units, not run by the prosecutor's office. If you have information that could help Josh or others like him, reach out. Your voice could be the one that finally tips the scales towards justice. We can't do this alone. It takes a community of listeners, advocates, and truth seekers to make real change. I'd like to take this moment to thank our sponsors, Veteran Alliance, for all of the help that they do in making sure that each episode gets published. We've also got a few new sponsors that I'd like to give a shout out to. Welcome aboard to Yarn Therapy for Me. She has an Etsy store and a TikTok. If you like handmade crocheted items, reach out to her, Yarn Therapy for Me. I'd also like to welcome aboard Just an Apron. If you love chocolate covered anything, get a hold of her on Facebook, Just an Apron. Reasonably priced, best treats in town. And of course, Liberty First Radio. They are our sister company and we are partnering together to bring you the classic rock that we all love. Make sure you check out Liberty First Radio. And as always, a special thanks to JP Verse of Versefire Records for our intro and outro music. Thank you for everyone that supports our cause to get these stories of these wrongful convictions out there for everybody to hear. And as always, thank you for joining us. Until next time, remember, justice delayed is justice denied. But together, we can make a difference. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay hopeful, because nobody deserves to be wickedly judged.